alaikum. Welcome back from the ad break. You are still watching Prime Life. Now, up next, we are joined by our motivational expert, Jabu Zwane, who is a dynamic speaker, a motivator who's going to be sharing his wisdom and insight on how one can kickstart the week with positivity and purpose. Now, Jabu is known for his inspiring messages that encourage people to embrace their potential, overcome their challenges, and also achieve their goals. Thank you so much for joining us, Jabu Zwane, on Prime Life, and welcome.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Aisha. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you for having me.
You are most welcome. I believe that we are all ready to start with our Motivational Monday, so please do take over.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in this evening on Monday Motivation. Yes, my name is Jabu Zwane, and this evening we are going to be speaking about the power of I don't know. Yes, the power of I don't know, like the power of being wrong, however way you want to look at it. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because it's one of the, I suppose, the scariest thing for a human being to say is to say that I don't know. And so let me take you back to 2016 at a press conference where the former CEO of Nokia said these haunting words before the world. He said, "We didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we still lost it." Now, if you can remember, Nokia was at one point the leading cell phone company in the world. You can remember 2110, 3110. We can remember that they were the first ones to come up with really, really cool, smart touchscreen phones. And yet, at that press conference, the questions were coming at him nonstop. And they were trying to just make sense of what happened. And that's the statement that he made. But I'd like us to think also to bring it a bit closer to home, you know, and this is back around, I think, 2018, when Rassie Erasmus decided to choose Siya Kolisi as the rugby captain, the first black captain in South Africa. There were many people that said that that was a wrong move, but Rassie was not afraid to be wrong. Then Rassie, after he appointed Siya Kolisi, that proved to be one of the best decisions that we ever made for South African rugby. Because to date, he has been the most successful captain of South African rugby with 2 World Cups under his name. It was risky, it was a bold move, and yet it was the right move. It was a move that many said that he was wrong, and he could have been wrong, but he wasn't afraid to be wrong. And I want us to really think about that this evening. That it's okay for us to have a good relationship with being wrong and to have a good relationship with not knowing. Why is it that we resist being wrong so much? Most of the time, actually, it has more to do with ego. Secondly, it has more to do with the fear of failing. It also has a lot to do with, I suppose, the conditioning in the world that we live in, where so much emphasis is being placed on being right. If you think about what we learned in school when we were writing tests, the tests were all about right and wrong. It wasn't really about how do you get to the right answer and how do you even where do you get the answer wrong, but it was about sometimes in some cases actually getting the answer word for word. And unfortunately, this has conditioned us to place an unhealthy emphasis on being right rather than actually the process of being right. I once shared the statement and I said that in school, many of us were taught how to be right, and we're not taught how to be wrong. And being wrong, as we have learned, as with Rassi, it can be the very thing that we need to actually start doing things the right way. And we may have heard this terminology before: "fake it until you make it." I think that is one of the worst things we can ever say, saying that we should fake things until we make it. See, the moment you start to fake something, you start to live in a reality of being wrong as a choice. And unfortunately, you actually don't get to identify the things that you need to get right, that you may have certain gaps and how to close those gaps because you have rather chosen to fake rather than to be honest, to be transparent, and to be authentic with yourself and to admit to the gaps that you have in your own knowledge. And that is dangerous. Although it may give you that very fake short-term confidence, but you can quickly lose credibility when people realize that actually you're all hot air and nothing. You can build this fragile confidence based on performance, not on substance. You live under tremendous amount of stress, constantly being anxious about being found out to be wrong. And actually, as a matter of fact, you condition imposter syndrome in your psychology, and it might be so that even when you get to the point where now you know what you're supposed to know, imposter syndrome is a very hard condition to get rid of. So, what is the healthy alternative? The healthy alternative is relationship with not knowing. It's okay to say that I don't know, to ask questions so that you can close the gaps in your knowledge. It's learning to have a healthy relationship with the process of acquiring information, of becoming better skilled, of becoming more competent, of becoming an expert even in whatever that you're doing. It shows humility and it invites collaboration. It also builds trust. There is a certain kind of humanity, humaneness, if I can put it that way, that people feel, especially if you're a leader, when you are willing to admit that you don't know certain things, that you don't know everything. Now, it's the worst thing to be dealing with a leader that pretends to know the things that they don't know and they never get to learn the things that they should know. And as a result, they lead from a point of not knowing, leading everybody totally into astray. I know that sounded like a bit of a tongue twister. But here's the beautiful irony. The people who admit that they don't know actually learn faster, they grow deeper, they rise higher, and they progress further than those who pretend that they know what they don't know. And they pretend that they know what they should know. So the power of being wrong is that every mistake becomes then a source of data. Every wrong step narrows down the path to the right step. Think about inventors, entrepreneurs, athletes. Their success stories are written in ink, yes, but a lot of ink. A lot of that ink is the ink of failure. They're wrong many times. They have gaps many times, but they have to note those down in order to be able to close them to become the best in the world over and over again, up until they find the right way to do what they need to do. Being wrong is not the opposite of success, but actually it is the very doorway into success. So here's my challenge that I want to put forward to you this week. I want to challenge you this week to have a healthy relationship with not knowing. Have a healthy relationship with not knowing. Build the humility and the courage to say that I don't know and to learn to ask questions when you don't know. You give yourself permission to be wrong. You can do it out loud. You can do it to yourself. Then the next time that you don't know, don't fake it, admit it, then commit to a learning process. Because here's the truth, the people who insist on always being right end up like Nokia, being proud, being defensive, and being left behind. And Nokia is not the only example. We know of many companies like that, and we also know of many people like that. But the ones who embrace being wrong, they grow, they innovate, they lead, they become the best versions of themselves because they're able to identify gaps that they need to close to get to the highest level of their own potential and also of their own performance. So go ahead, be wrong, because that's how you're going to eventually get it right. I hope listening to me this evening, I was able to encourage you and to challenge you to get out of the mindset of thinking that you've got to be right all the time. The mindset of being able to admit that you don't have to know all that there is to know and that there's nothing wrong with not knowing. And also, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being wrong. But to succeed in life, it's important to have a healthy relationship with both not knowing and with being wrong. Well, thank you so much for tuning in this evening. My name is Jabu Zwane. I hope what I was able to share with you this evening has been helpful and you're able to pick up some nuggets that in the end will help you to go into this week stronger, motivated, and able to achieve the greatest of things for yourselves, for your family, and for society. Thank you so much. Good evening.
Thank you
Back to
so
you in the
much.
studio.
Thank you so much, Jabu, for the motivation, and just for sharing your wisdom and insight to help us kickstart the week and knowing exactly what we are targeting. And viewers at home, I hope this was very insightful and very educational for you. the importance of just accepting when one is wrong, and also learning to grow yourself through that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being wrong, and with the intent of learning and pursuing your dreams and career or whatever goals that you may have, instead of always being obsessed with being right.